The Council's verdict, the Galactic Sovereignty Council chamber floated in. The void between stars, a massive structure of crystalline metal that pulsed with the combined power of 1,000 civilizations. Inside its central hall, representatives from every corner of known space gathered in a semicircle, their forms as diverse as the galaxies themselves. Some breathed methane, others existed as pure energy, contained in magnetic fields, and a few were so ancient their species had forgotten what it meant to have a physical body at all. At the center of this assembly stood Commander Zithrax of the Krello Dominion, his forearms crossed over his armored chest. His obsidian exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial light, and his compound eyes scanned the room with barely concealed impatience. He had waited 3 cycles for this moment, and now the time had finally come. The supreme arbiter, a being of liquid silver that held the shape of a vaguely humanoid form, raised one flowing hand. Silence fell across the chamber like a weight. Its voice echoed through every translator, every neural link, every consciousness present. We have reviewed the data on Species Classification File 7739. The world designated as Earth, the dominant species, call themselves humans. Commander Zithrax, you have brought this matter before us. State your proposal. Zithrax stepped forward, his clawed feet clicking against the polished floor. Behind him, a holographic projection materialized, showing a blue and green planet spinning slowly in the darkness. It looked so peaceful from this distance, so insignificant. Honored members of the Council, Zithrax began, his voice carrying the weight of military certainty. For 10 cycles we have observed this world. The humans have achieved basic space travel. They have split the atom. They have begun to spread beyond their home planet. According to Protocol 17 of the Sovereignty Charter, any species reaching this level of development must be evaluated for integration or elimination. A ripple of acknowledgement passed through the chamber. Protocol 17 was old law established long before most current civilizations had even evolved. It existed for one purpose: to protect the galaxy from potential threats before they could mature into something dangerous. The humans are violent, Zithrax continued, and the hologram shifted to show images pulled from Earth's history: wars, weapons, cities burning. They war among themselves constantly. They possess nuclear weapons and have nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. They consume their planet's resources without thought for tomorrow. They are divided into hundreds of factions, each one hostile to the others. Another member spoke up. A Vex collective mind that existed across 17 bodies simultaneously. Its voices overlapped in eerie harmony. These traits are common in young species. Many races in this chamber displayed similar characteristics during their development phase. The question is whether they can evolve beyond such behaviors. Zithrax's mandibles clicked in what his species considered a smile. That is precisely the issue, honored Vex. Our probability engines have run every simulation. In 97% of outcomes, humanity becomes a threat to galactic stability. Within 500 cycles, they expand too quickly, consume too aggressively, and most critically, they refuse to submit to any authority they do not control themselves. He gestured, and the hologram changed again. Now it showed human technology, their primitive spacecraft, their early weapon systems, their clumsy attempts at artificial intelligence. They are clever, I grant them that, dangerously clever, but they lack wisdom, they lack unity, they lack the maturity required to join the sovereignty as equals. Then what do you propose? The Supreme Arbiter asked, though everyone in the chamber already knew the answer: preemptive containment. Zithrax said flatly, we quarantine their star system, we destroy their long-range communications, we disable their space faring capability, and if they resist, we reduce their population to pre-industrial levels. We have done this before with other species, the Torvin, the Skull Collective, the Hive of Andros Prime. Each time we acted in time to prevent galactic catastrophe. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some voices supported the plan, others argued for mercy. A few suggested simple observation for a few more cycles. The debate raged for hours, voices rising and falling like tides. Finally, the Supreme Arbiter raised both hands, and silence returned. We will vote. Those in favor of Commander Zithrax's proposal for preemptive containment of Earth, signal. Now, lights appeared throughout the chamber, each one representing a civilization's choice: blue for approval, red for rejection, yellow for abstention. Zithrax watched with satisfaction as more and more blue lights appeared. The calculation was simple: humanity was a risk, and the galaxy had learned long ago that risks had to be managed before they became disasters. When the count finished, the Supreme Arbiter's voice rang out with the finality of cosmic law. The motion passes. Earth is marked for containment. Commander Zithrax, you will lead the operation. You have authorization to use whatever force is necessary to neutralize human expansion capability. The sovereignty's mercy is limited by the sovereignty's survival. Zithrax bowed deeply. It will be done within one cycle. Supreme Arbiter, the Krell fleet stands ready. Earth will never know what ended their dreams of the stars. As the council chamber began to empty, none of the representatives noticed a small anomaly in their sensor networks. Brief pulse of data compressed and encrypted that shot away from the chamber at speeds that should have been impossible. Something had been listening, something had recorded every word, and somewhere on Earth, in a facility buried deep beneath a mountain, alarms began to sound the transmission. General Sarah Chin stood in the Operations Command Center, her hands pressed flat against the cool surface of the display table. Around her, dozens of technicians worked in focused silence, their faces lit by the glow of screens, showing data that shouldn't exist. Above them, on the main wall display, a recording played on loop. The Galactic Sovereignty Council meeting. Every word, every vote, every casual discussion of humanity's extinction. How long have we known? Asked Director James Uwe, his voice barely above a whisper. The head of the Global Defense Initiative had seen many briefings in his career, but nothing had prepared him for this. Chin didn't look up from the display. Signal was intercepted 48 hours ago by the Deep Space Monitoring Array. Our quantum decoder cracked their encryption. 17 hours later, we verified it through every analysis protocol we have. Israel. Director, they're coming. On the screen, Commander Zithrax's holographic form gestured at Earth with casual disdain, describing humanity's containment as if discussing pest control. Aki felt his stomach turn. For decades, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was worse than anyone had imagined. One cycle, Chin continued, pulling up a separate display. Their time measurement translates to approximately 37 Earth days. That's how long we have before the Krello fleet arrives to destroy everything we've built. A younger officer approached Lieutenant Marcus Rivera, his face pale but determined. General, the President is asking for options. The Security Council is in emergency session. Everyone wants to know what we can do against a civilization that's been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Chin finally looked up, and there was something in her eyes that made both men pause. Not fear, not desperation. Something else entirely. We can't fight them, she said simply, not directly. Their technology is centuries beyond ours, maybe millennia. One Krell warship could probably sterilize our entire planet. She tapped the display and new data cascaded across the screens. But that doesn't mean we're helpless. Ak leaned forward. Explain. They think we're primitive, Shin said, a thin smile crossing her face. They think we're divided, violent, and stupid. They watched us for 10 cycles and saw exactly what they expected to see, or conflict, chaos. But they missed something crucial. They missed what makes us human. She pulled up another file, one marked with so many security classification that Akko's clearance barely covered it. Project, we've been working on it for 6 years, ever since the first quantum anomaly suggested someone might be watching us. It was a contingency plan, a message designed to be sent if we ever detected an existential threat from space. Rivera stepped closer to the display, his eyes widening as he read the data. This is insane, General. This could start a war. They've already declared war on us. Chin replied coldly. They just haven't told us to our faces. The sovereignty decided our fate without ever speaking to us, without giving us a chance to prove ourselves. They judged us, found us wanting, and sentenced us to eternal darkness. Project Ember is our response. Akko studied the data, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to something approaching awe. You want to send this to the entire galaxy, every civilization in their network, not just their network, Chin corrected. We've mapped every communication relay, every quantum beacon, every node in their interstellar infrastructure. When we send this transmission, it won't just reach the sovereignty, it'll reach every species, every system, every colony, world under their control. Billions of civilizations will receive it simultaneously. And you think this will stop them? AI asked. Chin's smile widened slightly. I think it'll make them pause. I think it'll make them reconsider, because what we're about to show them isn't what they expect. They think we're barbarians stumbling around in the dark. We're about to prove them very, very wrong. She pulled up the transmission file, and the three of them watched in silence as it played. It was 7 minutes long, carefully constructed, translated into the sovereignty's primary linguistic protocols. It showed Earth, but not the Earth the Council had seen, not the wars and weapons and chaos. It showed something else entirely. It showed art, music, literature, philosophy. It showed a species that had stared into the darkness of existence and created beauty. Anyway, it showed humans helping each other during disasters, sacrificing for Strangers building monuments not to war but to knowledge. It showed the International Space Station, a joint project of former enemies working together. It showed the golden record sent on Voyager, a message of hope cast into the void long before humanity knew anyone was listening. But that was only the first 3 minutes. The last 4 minutes were different. They showed mathematics, physics, engineering, theoretical frameworks that human scientists had developed in secret, advances that shouldn't have been possible for a species of Earth's classification level. Quantum entanglement communication, 0-point energy theory, dimensional folding, mathematics, particle manipulation at scales the sovereignty hadn't achieved until they'd been spacefaring for centuries, and at the very end a simple message in every language the sovereignty used. We know you're coming. We know what you planned. We are not what you think we are. We are humanity. We do not submit. We do not surrender. We do not go quietly into the dark. If you come as enemies, you will learn why. We survived ice ages, plagues, and ourselves. If you come as friends, you will learn what it means to be human. Choose wisely. You have 37 days. Transmission ended and the command center fell silent. Rivera spoke first, his voice shaking slightly. When we send this, there's no taking it back. We'll be announcing ourselves to the entire galaxy as either the most arrogant species ever to exist or the most dangerous. Both, Shin said quietly. We in LT, Unc, and GT, LLB both, and that's exactly what we need them to believe. She looked at Aiku. Director, I need authorization to transmit. This goes all the way to the top, but the president has indicated she'll follow your recommendation. Ak stared at the blank screen where the transmission had played. He thought about his children, about humanity's future, about the choice between submission and defiance. Finally he nodded. Send it. Let the galaxy know we're here. Let them know we're ready. And let them know that if they want to end humanity's story, they'll have to write that ending themselves, because we never will. Chen turned to her communications team. Initiate project Ember, full broadcast, maximum power. All frequencies, light up every receiver. From here to the galactic core. Technicians moved with practiced precision, their fingers dancing across controls. Energy readings spiked. Facility's fusion reactor ramped to maximum output, and then with a pulse that rippled through quantum space like a stone thrown into still water, the transmission launched. It raced across the galaxy at speeds that defied conventional physics, riding on principles humanity had only recently discovered. Within hours it would reach the sovereignty's network. Within a day it would blanket known space, and in the Krello flagship, currently 3 weeks travel from Earth, Commander Zethrax's communications officer would receive an alert that would change everything. Humanity had spoken. The galaxy was listening. The galaxy responds. Commander Zethrax stared at the holographic display with an expression his crew had never seen before. His forearms hung motionless at his sides, his compound eyes fixed on the human transmission that had somehow penetrated every secured network in sovereignty. Space around him, the bridge of the Krello flagship, Dominion's fist had fallen into stunned silence. Play it again, he said quietly. Communications officer hesitated. Commander, we've analyzed it 14 times already. The content doesn't change. Play again. The transmission resumed. And once more Zethrax watched the impossible unfold before him. The first section with its art and music and philosophy meant nothing to him. Every dying species pleaded for mercy by showing their culture's beauty, but the second half, the mathematics and physics and theoretical frameworks, that was different, that was dangerous. His tactical officer, a younger Krell named Vexthal, approached cautiously. Commander, the science division has finished their analysis. These equations, these theories, they're not just advanced. Some of them are beyond our current understanding. The dimensional folding mathematics alone would revolutionize our faster than light travel if it's legitimate. If Zethrax repeated, seizing on the word, they could be bluffing, fabricating data to appear more advanced than they are. That was our first assumption, Vexthal admitted, but we ran simulations. Mathematics is consistent. More than that, it's elegant. These aren't random equations thrown together to impress us. They solve problems our own scientists have struggled with for generations. He paused, mandibles clicking nervously. Commander, if they understand 0-point energy theory at this level, they could theoretically weaponize it. Civilization that young shouldn't even know such a thing is possible. Zethrax turned away from the display, his mind racing through tactical scenarios. The fleet was 3 weeks from Earth, 17 warships carrying enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. The mission had seemed simple hours ago. Now everything had changed. How many civilizations received this transmission? He asked. All of them, sir, the communications officer replied. They used our own relay network against us. Every member species of the sovereignty, every independent system, every colony world, they all saw it. The quantum channels are flooded with responses. The council chamber is demanding answers. Some species are calling for immediate dialogue with Earth. Others are advocating for accelerated containment before the humans can weaponize their theoretical knowledge. Before Zethrax could respond, a priority signal cut through every other communication. The Supreme Arbiter's liquid silver form materialized in hologram before him, and for the first time in his military career, Zethrax saw something resembling uncertainty in that ancient being's posture. Commander, halt your advance immediately. Do not under any circumstances enter the Sol system until further notice. Zethrax felt his pride bristle. Supreme Arbiter, with respect, we have authorization for this mission. One human transmission shouldn't alter our strategic assessment. This is not about one transmission, the Orbiter replied, its voice carrying harmonics of concern. In the past 20 hours, we have received 14,000 formal petitions from member civilizations demanding humanity be granted observer status pending proper evaluation. The Vex Collective has withdrawn their support for containment. The Orion Empire has threatened to leave the sovereignty if we proceed with hostile action against Earth. The Zephyr Network has declared humanity protected research interest. Commander, this situation has spiraled far beyond military concerns. On a secondary display, data began flooding in. Reports from across the galaxy. The Torvin, a species that had themselves been contained centuries ago, had sent a message of solidarity to Earth. The academic institutions of a dozen civilizations were demanding access to human scientific data, 3 independent systems had already dispatched diplomatic vessels towards Seoul, ignoring sovereignty protocols entirely. They were supposed to be afraid of us. Zithrak said more to himself than anyone else. The containment was meant to demonstrate the sovereignty's strength. They are afraid, the arbiter corrected, but not in the way we anticipated. They're afraid of what happens if we destroy a species that might hold answers to questions we haven't even learned to ask yet. They're afraid of appearing as oppressors rather than protectors, and most critically, they're afraid that the humans were telling the truth in the final line of their message. Zithrax pulled up that section of the transmission again. The words hung in the holographic space like an accusation. If you come as enemies, you will learn why we survived ice ages, plagues, and ourselves. You think they have weapons we don't know about? Bixel asked. I think they survived their own worst instincts, the arbiter said. Slowly, most species that reach the atomic age either unify or destroy themselves within a few generations. Humanity has possessed world-ending weapons for nearly a century and hasn't used them since the first time. They wage wars, yes, but they also stop them. They damage their planet, but they also work to heal it. They're divided, but they cooperate anyway. That kind of resilience is rare, Commander. That kind of stubborn refusal to surrender in the face of extinction, that's not weakness. That's the opposite of weakness. Zithrax wanted to argue, but the evidence was mounting. His entire military assessment had been based on the assumption that humanity's divisions made them vulnerable. But what if those divisions had actually made them stronger? What if constantly struggling against themselves had forged something the sovereignties member species, comfortable in their unity and ancient stability, had forgotten how to be? A new message appeared on his personal console. Priority coded from the Krello, Dominion's home world. He opened it and felt his certainty crack further. The message was from the Dominion Council, his own government, the civilization he served. It was brief and absolute. Do not engage humans without explicit authorization. The political situation has become untenable. Diplomatic solutions are being explored. Stand by. Around the galaxy, similar messages were being sent to other fleets, other commanders, other civilizations that had supported containment. The transmission had done what no weapon could have achieved. It had made humanity valuable, interesting, and most importantly, dangerous to ignore. In the council chamber, the supreme arbiter addressed an assembly far larger than the one that had condemned Earth. Representatives who had abstained from the first vote now demanded to be heard. The debate raged for hours, but the momentum had shifted. Fear of human potential had been replaced by curiosity about it, and underneath that curiosity ran a deeper concern. What if humanity's claims were true? What if they did possess knowledge the sovereignty needed? What if destroying them meant losing answers to questions the galaxy had struggled with for millennia? Finally, after 2 days of continuous deliberation, the Supreme Orbiter made the announcement that would reshape the galaxy's future. The decision for preemptive containment of Earth is hereby suspended pending formal diplomatic contact. A delegation will be dispatched to the Sol system. Under peace protocols, humanity will be given the opportunity to address the Council directly and demonstrate their claimed capabilities. This session is Adjourned. Back on Earth in the Operations Command Center, General Chin watched the reports streaming in from the Deep Space Monitoring Array. The Krell fleet had stopped. More than that, ships from dozens of civilizations were changing course, all heading toward Earth, but their signatures indicated scientific vessels and diplomatic transports, not warships. Director Ock stood beside her, reading the translated messages that were beginning to arrive. Requests for dialogue, offers of cultural exchange, questions about the mathematics and physics in the transmission, a few threats, yes, but mostly curiosity and caution. It worked, he said, disbelief coloring his voice. They're actually listening. They're afraid, Shin corrected. They don't know what we're capable of, and that scares them more than knowing we're primitive. We bought ourselves time, maybe even a seat at their table, but Director, we need to be very clear about what happens next. What do you mean? Chen pulled up a new display showing the theories and equations humanity had transmitted. Half of this is real science breakthroughs we've made that we kept classified for exactly this kind of situation. The other half is theoretical things we think might work but haven't tested. Some of it is pure speculation dressed up in confident mathematics. We showed them a picture of what we could become, not necessarily what we are right now. Ak and LT Unk and GT's expression darkened. So we bluffed, we showed potential, Chin said firmly. And now we have to make that potential real before they figure out which parts were exaggeration. We have diplomatic ships arriving in 5 weeks. When they get here, they'll want proof. They'll want demonstrations. We need every scientist, every engineer, every researcher working around the clock to turn those theories into reality. Lieutenant Rivera approached with a new report. General, we're receiving a direct message from something calling itself the Supreme Orbiter. It's requesting coordinates for a diplomatic landing and proposing a meeting to discuss humanity's integration into what they call the galactic sovereignty. Chin and Akko exchanged glances. Integration, not containment. Dialogue, not destruction. It was more than they had dared hope for when they sent the transmission. Send them the coordinates for the neutral meeting zone. We prepared, Chin ordered, and Lieutenant compose a response. Keep it simple. Tell them humanity accepts their offer of dialogue. Tell them we look forward to showing them what we're capable of, and tell them we hope this is the beginning of a long and mutually beneficial relationship. As Rivera moved to carry out the orders, Aki turned to Chen with a question that had been gnawing at him. What if we can't deliver on our promises? What if they realize we're not as advanced as we claimed? Chin looked out at the display showing Earth from orbit, this fragile blue world that had just talked its way out of extinction through nothing but words and mathematics. She thought about human history, about all the times humanity had been backed into a corner and found a way to survive anyway. Then we do what we've always done, she said quietly. We adapt, we learn, we become what we need to be. They judged us without knowing us, condemned us without speaking to us. We sent them a message that made them reconsider. Now we have time to prove that message wasn't a lie. We have time to show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our refusal to accept defeat, even when defeat seems inevitable. She pulled up the transmission one more time, letting the final words hang in the air. We are Humanity, we do not submit, we do not surrender, we do not go quietly into the dark, we bought ourselves a future, Shin said. Now we have to earn it, outside the command center across the planet. Word was spreading, humanity was no longer alone, the galaxy had come knocking, first with a threat, then with curiosity, and in response humans had done what they did best. They had faced impossible odds with courage, creativity, and a stubbornness that refused to acknowledge the word impossible. The age of isolation was over, the age of humanity's place among the stars had begun, and the galaxy, ancient and powerful as it was, had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. Never underestimate a species that has spent its entire existence learning how to survive